Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Friday Night Young at Heart, featuring nursery rhymes, stories, songs, poems, Mother Goose, Aesop's fables, Lewis Carroll's limericks, larks, epic stories of the great operas, and such. To keep us all young at heart, I'm Father James DiLuzio. Tonight, Chapter 17 of the original novella by Carlo Collodi, The Adventures of Pinocchio. Well, as you may recall, do you recall? Pinocchio is in bed at the house of the Blue Fairy, and there were three interlocutors, a raven, an owl, and a cricket, who were deciding whether he was really dead because he was still stunned from his fall from the great tree where the assassins had hung him on a noose to hang him to death. But as you know, the fairy sent the poodle and a carriage to bring him back, and a raven to untie the knot. All the same, the raven and the owl couldn't decide whether he was dead or alive, but the cricket was very insightful and said, "This is the most selfish, self-centered, disobedient rascal of a creature, this puppet." Well, when soon as they left, the Blue Fairy touched the forehead of this Pinocchio puppet and found that he had a terrible, terrible fever. He was about to go on fire. So she's, "Pinocchio," she wakes him, and he does awake, and says, "You must take this medicine. If you don't take this medicine, you may die." "I don't want to take the medicine," says Pinocchio. "But Pinocchio, you don't want to die, do you?" "No, but I don't want to take the medicine." "How about if you take the medicine and I'll give you a spoonful of sugar right afterwards, and it will taste better?" "Okay," said Pinocchio. "But first, give me the spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down." Different story. But basically that's what the argument brought us to, and so the good fairy very kindly gives him the spoonful of sugar, and then, "I still won't take the medicine," he says. "Well, Pinocchio, I gave you the sugar. I will not take the medicine unless I get another spoonful of sugar." "Very well, then," said the Blue Fairy, and she gives him another spoonful of sugar, and then he says, "I can't take the medicine." "Why not, Pinocchio?" "Because this cushion on my feet is bothering me." "All right, Pinocchio, I'll remove the cushion. Now take your medicine." "I can't take the medicine." "Why not, Pinocchio?" "Because the drapes are open and the sun's in my eyes." "All right, Pinocchio, I'll close the drapes. Now take your medicine." "No, I will not take my medicine," said Pinocchio. "Why not?" said the Blue Fairy. And Pinocchio comes up with one excuse after the other. Finally, the Blue Fairy warns him, "Pinocchio, you are very sick. You could go on to fire any moment with this high fever. You just might die." "I'd rather die than take my medicine," said Pinocchio, and just then the door opened, and in walk four rabbits as black as pitch, carrying a dark black box. "What is this?" said Pinocchio. "It is your coffin," said the four black rabbits. "We have come to take you. It is your time to die." "Hand me the medicine," said Pinocchio, "please," and the good fairy obliges, and he gulps it down quickly. "False alarm," said the black rabbits, and they in the coffin exit the room. And then Pinocchio's dancing and jumping and all around. "I'll always take my medicine. I'll always take my medicine." "I'm so glad you feel that way," says the Blue Fairy. And then she asks him to recount how it is that he came to be attacked by assassins and left hanging on a tree. And so in a page or so, he reiterates the entire story, but you have to go back to previous chapters if you don't recall. And he's quite accurate about it, except he doesn't tell about the 4 coins that were in his mouth. Well, he did say that they wanted the coins when the good fairy asks him what has happened to the coins, which were now in his pocket. He said, "Oh, they were lost. They fell in the forest." "Well," said the good fairy, "we can go and find them. In my forest, anything that is lost will be found." No, I don't think so," said Pinocchio, but already his nose began to get a bit larger. And then she asked him again, "Are you sure you lost those in the forest?" No," said Pinocchio, they're not in the forest." And then he makes up something else and his nose gets bigger. And then she asks him again, and he doesn't say that they're in his pocket, but elsewhere. And his nose gets bigger and bigger and bigger, so big that he's absolutely embarrassed. He can't turn to his right because his nose is hitting the wall. He can't turn to the left because his nose is hitting the opposite wall. He gets up and he's going to run away. He's so embarrassed, but his nose is just too big. He's top heavy. He can't even move. "What's going on?" cried Pinocchio. And the good fairy says, "Well, there are lies and there are lies, and you have been telling big lies, and therefore your nose is quite large." "I'm sorry," said Pinocchio. "I'll never lie again." And here's an important piece. I have to look into the book as a reference here. She says to him in that, let's see, on this page, "Lies, my dear boy, are quickly discovered, because there are 2 kinds. There are lies with short legs, and there are lies with long noses. Yours is clearly of the long-nosed variety." Pinocchio, not knowing where to hide himself for shame, found he couldn't run away, as had already been noted. His nose had gotten so large that even now that he stood up, he couldn't get out of the door. And there you have the next chapter, The Adventures of Pinocchio. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you were nice sitting on the floor and listening as I have been telling the story. Have a wonderful weekend. Good night, everyone. God bless.